Oh, we have clearance. We have clearance, Clarence. Ha ha! Okay guys, we're back on the YJ. If you saw the last video, this will make sense to you, and if you didn't, I'll give you the Cliff Notes version. We're in the middle of swapping this D60 in, and I stretched it 2.5 inches farther forward. And I knew that was going to be a problem with the steering, because the drag link and the tie rod, they were going to not play nice together. So I went to this behind the axle tie rod to avoid that problem, and I thought that I'd be good to go. I did not factor in the fact that the center section is so big on this D60 compared to that one on the 44 that I used to have, that this would be my new problem. There's just not enough clearance here. And when I flex, this is gonna smack into here. Now I could probably get some shorter misalignments and stuff and save a little bit of room, but it's, you know, as this flexes up, it also comes forward a little bit, and it's just gonna smack right into this. It's about, I don't know, 4.5 fingers of a gap. Now you wouldn't think that that would be that big of a deal, but for being a leaf spring rig, this thing flexes like a mother, and it is not gonna clear. Couple that with the fact that today is September 7th, and I have to have this thing in Badlands on October 3rd, and none of my other parts have showed up yet, so this weekend has been a waste. So we're gonna play around with steering box stuff. Good friend of mine, Ashland from Jeep Forum, that I have been talking to for years. I was talking to him about it because I knew he had ran that Astro box once. He's like, yeah, my old one's sitting on my shelf. It's ported for hydro assist. You can have it, just pay the shipping. So here we go. There it is. What we have here is a Chevy Astro steering box. It is basically the same as the YJ box. It just has reversed internals. So if you had the pitman arm on the same way, if you steered right, it would go left. The only real difference that I know of is that there's no boss for this 4th bolt hole. So only 3 bolts hold it on instead of 4. I can deal with that. On the flip side, this is a JK box. And I brought this over here because I had it and I thought I would just play around with the idea of seeing if I could make it fit, and it's just such a long sector shaft compared to this one. It's the guy she told you not to worry about. It would put this whole thing like it would have to be way up inside of here, and like right there's where my shock tower is gonna go, and it's just the grill's there, and I just don't think I could make it work. It was a good thought, but I think this one's out. I wanted to see, but yeah. So we're gonna rip my steering box off and we're gonna see what happens when I put this one on there. All right, so got the old box out, and this is the Astro box, and this is the stock bracket instead of that WFO bracket, and this is gonna move it back an inch back to the stock spot so that maybe it's not sticking as far out. I found some bolts to go here. I'll just have to steal one of those long bolts back, so I'll get this thrown up there. We'll just see what it's gonna look like. This is always just such a fun part because these things are so light to try to hold up there and get bolts started, but you know, we'll get her did. Oh shit. I thought I had that started better than that. Oh, that about broke my arm. Jeepers. Well, I could not find a longer bolt that was the right size, but I did find a longer bolt that was metric, that was just barely long enough to get a nut on there and tighten it. It was a one size smaller, so it just fit right through. It's enough for me to tighten it down and start seeing if this is gonna work. Okay, so just for shits and grins, I threw that Wagoneer stock arm on there, but can you see the problem with this setup? My wheel up there is centered, and I have 3 fingers till this is smacking into the leaf spring. Yeah, so that's only 3/4 of a wheel turn till I hit. Now I can cut that thing off. Huh. It does clear. Let me go see how many turns I'm getting out of that. I'm pretty sure this is a 3-turn box, so I should get 1.5 each direction. That's 1 turn, 2 turns, 3 turns. Well, that's weird because that makes center be half upside down. Now, while it does clear it at ride height, the minute I get this side flexed up, this leaf is gonna be pushed up and flatter, and it's gonna smack into it, and I will lose some steering. So that part of it, I mean, it's so close. It is so close. What I don't understand is why the steering box is 3 full turns, so when I go to 1.5, my steering wheel's upside down. So either I put that shaft on there upside down, which, if I'm not mistaken, can only go one way because there's a flat spot, or that's just one of the differences in this steering box. I don't really know. So this is full lock to the left and my wheel's right side up. So there's 1.5, or what presumably should be center. And there's another half and another 1 to that way. So it's saying that that's center. And if that's the case, then I guess I can just 180 something either in the steering shaft or whatever. In fact, I could probably just pull the double D joint apart right here and 180 it. Now I want to show you guys kind of what the drastic angle of this drag link would be. I would probably have to run it on top here. So can you just see how far, like how far forward it has to come? It is very much not ideal. Like, to run this steering box, they say you should have 7 inches of stretch, and I'm sitting at about 4. And I would potentially have problems with the top of this bolt getting into right here too when I steer farther this way. So for me to get my steering wheel and the steering box both centered and playing nice, I'm gonna have to separate the double D on the steering shaft, which is kind of a pain in the dick. I did a video once about like unseizing that shaft, and I don't know if I can do it in the vehicle. I might have to pull the whole shaft out of there, which sucks. But in the meantime, I've got a moment to think about it because my baby brought me some cheese fries and some cheese curds. I gotta eat. This is like 6 3/4, and this one down here is like 6. So neither one of them are perfect. I could buy another one of these, and then these are like a drill your own hole. I could buy another one and balance match it, but more importantly, it's perfectly flat where this one has a little bit of a drop. And so I'm gonna pull this off of here. I need that lock washer anyway, and I'm probably just gonna try to run that one on here. That was whoa, that could have been tighter. Oh yeah, no problem. I'm wondering if it's gonna hit this now. The other problem that we might have is because this is so far forward that this isn't gonna be long enough now. God, I don't love it, but if it works, it works. The only issue here is just to make sure it's not gonna clobber into this when I steer it. So let's go find out. Am I hitting that already? Damn it. This angle of it going forward that much is just so bothersome to me. I'm having a problem right now where if I put it on top, it's hitting this, so I can't steer that way. Okay, so I put it on the bottom. I'm not in love with it because it actually runs downhill a little bit. I was able to take this apart and 180 it. Now, there's a little ball and a detent that doesn't line up when you do that, but whatever. Now the box is straight and my wheel is straight. So that's the more important part. And it does cycle a 1.5 turns each way roughly. It's actually more like a 1.25 turns because I'm hitting the steering stops because the previous owner of this rig never chopped them. But more importantly, with this arm being flat and not dropping down as far and being about 1/2 inch shorter, I got all the clearance I need right here. So I may in time order another one of these, and you've got like 2 inches to pick and drill the hole where you want. And I would love to distance match it to this measurement, which is what you're supposed to do. Right now it's a little short. I really want to get this back on top of here. So I'm gonna look into the shorter misalignments or cutting these, because you get quite a bit of movement, but you can see there's a good, almost a finger width that I could trim this down. Long story short, I think it's gonna work. I just don't like that it's downhill. All right, so to further complicate matters, I figured a few things out here. First of all, it turns out a Grand Cherokee 99 to 04 pitman arm has 2 inches of drop, and it's 6 1/4 inches, which is the distance I need. I have 6 or 6 3/4 here. Found one for 30 bucks on Amazon, but it won't be here till Wednesday. That's 3 days away. These pitman arms have 4 keyways. That's like a double spline, so it'll only fit on the box in 4 places. This one can go on at any spline. For whatever reason, the YJ box, or in this case the Astro box, they're keyed a little offset to the driver's side. So when the box is centered, the arm is not straight. It's like right here. So with this one, I was able to turn it 1 spline over. So now at full lock, I've got clearance here at the leaf. So I can take any pitman arm and do that. I did it with a hacksaw blade and then a triangle file. I did this back when I used to run this one. I guess what I'm getting at is I can make any of these clear, including this one. So while I did order that other one, I think I'm gonna go ahead and put this in the drill press and drill this out. But if I file these keyways out, I can clock it over 1 spline, and then it'll be straight like this instead of cocked over that way. And that should allow it to clear here. And with this about a 1/2 inch of drop, it should have just enough for me to still be able to run this on top. I know this is a whole lot of gibbledygook, it's a bunch of hogwash is what it is. I'm just winging it here, guys, and I'm running out of time, so we're gonna make something work. I hate drilling this big of holes, but you gotta do what you gotta do, right? I want to point out here that I did a whole bunch of stuff in this video that is completely irrelevant to how this ended up, but there's some helpful stuff like how to file out those keyways and stuff like that, so I'm leaving it in there. But if I left in everything I did, this video would be 2.5 hours long. It's making it a real challenge to edit. All right, so can you see the one that's like a double thick? They basically just didn't cut a spline in 4 spots. So all we have to do is take like a sawzall blade or just a hacksaw blade and just cut a groove in it, and then you take a triangle file and kind of do whatever until it, till it clears. This is the one I already did. You can see where it was, so you can tell that I did it, but honestly it fits perfectly, and hell, you look at it at that angle, you can't tell. It's probably gonna take me 20-30 minutes to do it, but it'll allow me to clock this over 1 tooth. All right, let's see what we can do here. The hardest part is just getting it started. Probably gonna be pretty tough to see this, but oh, focus, would you? It just doesn't want to focus in that close, but I've got a line. The file will do the rest. I mean, you can definitely see which ones I filed, but it appears I took enough. That one I might have went a little too much, but whatever. Well, we're gonna see if it will go on there now. By golly, frickin' trains. Ooh. Yeah, so you see it won't go, so I got a little more filing to do. So I didn't get enough, but you get the idea. I wanted to show you what the steering looked like now that we got this keyed on there. I got it basically moved over 1 tooth this way. That arm has a 1/2 inch of drop, and with that I am basically parallel and maybe even a little downhill. and that's with it on top. So that means the Grand Cherokee one that has 2 inches of drop, it's gonna run downhill. So I think I'm gonna get on there and just cancel that order real quick. It's gonna cost me more, but I think I'm gonna order another one of these. Now these come undrilled. You can drill it to 6 1/4. This one's at 6. The only thing is I'm still gonna have problems with this wanting to hit this, but I did get those shorter misalignments. So yeah, we're just gonna have to make something work. The next thing I'm gonna do is cut these off. I'm gonna cut them down to flush, and then I'll drill and tap a hole in them so I can have just an adjustable stop. Now on the Dana 44, basically cut them off flush. Had to like shave down the bolt head and shave down the jam nut, and they're still ran like all the way in. I'll try that on this one. If I can't get enough, then I'll just have to set the bolt where I want it and skip the jam nut and just tack weld it. Gotta be careful not to hit that boot, man. I ain't playing that game. What is that noise, man?
There's a bit of a rough spot in this Astro van steering box, and I'm not sure if it's going to be okay or if it's going to cause any problems, but we're just going to have to go with it.
Cha-ching! I gotta say, this went a little better than I thought it would. I thought this was just going to be unusable, but it was like I had to try it, you know. But I think I'm going to be able to make it work. It's not going to be my long-term solution because I don't like it, but I don't have to like it for it to work.
Yeah! You got a walk home run. Yeah! Good job, Livy. You know, it's been one of those days, but I just got back from softball. They won that. Some of my parts showed up, and I want to show you some other stuff. Stuff from Surplus Center came. Got my 2 fittings and my ram. I've already pulled 4 inches of this out and started kind of trying to mock up where I think it's going to go. And I also put a steering box brace on. Let me show you that. Well, first of all, I got the longer bolt from work and put it in. And the threads were stripped in this hole, unfortunately. So they started to tighten and then just... So I put a nut on there, tightened it as tight as I could. And then I put a bolt through the 4th hole that doesn't go to the box, but it does help hold the bracket on. And it actually pulled the bracket in tighter to the frame, so hopefully that'll help. And now I used to have this. It's like, I think it's Rugged Ridge or something, steering box brace. I had to take it off of there when I moved the steering box with this bracket. And I had tried to chop it and get it to line back up, and it never worked. But since we're back in the stock location, I just kind of bolted each half up and then found a piece of tube and sleeved it, welded it, painted it, did all that last night. So we've got a little more support. I wish I could find a way to support the top of the box. What I really wanted to show up was the shock towers, and I got looking in the email 9 freaking days after I ordered it from Rough Stuff. Still no shipping confirmation. So then I emailed them complaining about it, and then they sent it out same day. That's why I like Barnes better than Rough Stuff, because Rough Stuff has always been a problem with me getting the stuff that I order, but their shock towers appeared to be a little longer than the Barnes ones, which is why I went with them. So we still have to wait for that. And let me show you what else I figured out with the pitman arm dilemma. I thought I had it solved, and then I realized I didn't. So I had decided to just stick with this Wagoneer arm. It is oversteering this axle. Even after I cut the steering stops off, it's steering those all the way to lock, and the box is never hitting its limit. And I need the box to hit its limit, because when you hit the limit, that's when it relieves the pressure, and I need that pressure relief to not overpressurize the ram. I'm going to show you roughly where this thing's going to sit, or where I think it's going to sit anyway. I mocked it up a bunch of different ways, and none of them really make sense except for the original way I thought. So it's pretty much going to go back in here somewhere. I got to build some kind of tabs off of this. Unfortunately, right there where I'm touching is the weakest spot of this truss. That is just a piece that I added on, and it's only welded to cast over here. And cast has been known to crack. But the idea is I'm trying to keep it somewhat sunk down like this so that it doesn't come up here and hit my oil pan. That does bring me to another point though. I forgot to order another tube clamp. I made my hydrosis clamp last time. I just ordered one of those tube clamps that's not meant for steering, and I welded these tabs on it and made it to be for steering. And then I even drilled those 3 holes and put pointy set screws in, and so that this clamp wouldn't slide on the tie rod. Well, I was planning on this clamp going with this setup, which by the way, if you want to buy it, hit me up because I need it gone. But I think I might have to steal it just for time's sake. But now that this stuff's pretty much settled, I think I can go ahead and get the bumper back on. Just so I can have one thing off my freaking list. Boop. Boop. Oh, it's not light either. Oh. Don't smash the fingers. Don't smash the fingers. Yeah. What, you telling me you don't use a pencil in your garage to use as a pry bar? Freaking worked like a dream. Yeah, I did something right. Uh-oh. I didn't even hammer on that, and that one's spinning now. That's great. I better do these by hand. Put it on low power mode. You know what? If 5 volts don't hold it, I don't think 6 had a chance anyway. Let's just see if we have a boogered bolt before we get too carried away. It kind of looks like we do. It's a bit on the too long side, I think, but we'll give her a go. Hey, as long as I don't kill it, that feels pretty tight. The bolt was just kind of messed up. I decided to go back to the flat pitman arm and just work on trying to find a way to make this work. And I did end up ordering a new one and drilling it out a little longer. You'll see that later. You see my dilemma. I need to lose that much height. The smaller misalignments I ordered take this from 2" down to 1 5/8. So I'm only going to lose 3/8 of an inch, which is about the thickness of that bolt head, so I'm still going to need more. Oh, so I'm going to have to get super creative. I might have to shave one of them down. I'm not sure what to do about that. I can't shave half the bolt head down. There just ain't no getting shorter than that. If I order that other one at 6 1/4, it'll move it out this way, a full 1/4 inch. Even right here at the worst spot, a 1/4 inch might just be enough to clear it. That's what I'm gonna have to do to make this work. Sucks, but it is what it is. There's a bit of a dilemma with mounting this ram just because clearance issues and different issues. I'll show you kind of what I got. It's all just, I've got it zip tied where I thought I wanted it to hang. I feel like I can build a bracket off the truss that makes this, but then there's going to be several problems. One, the tie rod has to be off to get the bolt in, which is whatever. So the bolt's like right in line with this and right in line with the truss, so it would be hard to get it bolted through. Now, the biggest problem with this spot, it actually clears everything, but this fitting is directly below the edge of the frame. And I believe I've got more than that in travel because, you know, when my old drag link was right here, it used to always hit, and I even had this marked out to notch. Thankfully, I haven't done it yet since this is way up there. So this one is right below the oil pan, about the same distance. And I can't point them to either side because it just gets too close to this, too close to the truss. And then that leaves me with pointing them down, which I guess I could do, and then finally run them over to here and up through. But then I got to find a way to make enough of a loop that this thing can droop out and then not get into that pulley. So I don't know. I think it could work here. I may have to rotate this up more and raise the whole ram up more though, because when I steer,
This is gonna run right into this. I can trim that U-bolt off. Whole bunch of blah, blah, blah. Now, you can mount it on the drag link too, but since this is like temporary, I don't want to mount anything to this drag link, especially at the weird angle it's at. Then that leaves, you know, technically you could, if the leaf wasn't in the way, you could mount to the bottom of this too, but it would just run right into this. And that leaves these, which would work, but it would require me to have a big old honking bracket sticking way out here, way low hanging fruit. It's gonna get bashed on rocks. There's just no way around that. Every way is like it almost works, but it sucks. I mean, worst case scenario, I don't have to have hydro assist to go wheeling, but all right, so these are gonna be my first 2 tabs. They're gonna have different links on them because they're gonna end up going on a piece that's angled, so one needs to be deeper than the other. That's kind of the mock-up piece that I made. So I'm gonna get these holes drilled, get them cut out, and then we'll see if it works. You know, I'll be honest with you guys, this is one of those days I do not want to be out here. I even got off work early because we're slow as shit right now, and I don't feel great. I'm not in the mood. I don't want to do this, but I know that I don't have the time to not do it. And sometimes, if you want to get your project done, that's just what it's going to take. You got to come out here when you don't want to do it. And honestly, I'll be the first to admit, I did a whole bunch of not doing that all summer, and that's part of why I never made it out here. We're going to get it done. I feel it. We're going to make it. We're going to make it to Badlands. Let's see if they fit. Been doing some trimming on these, and you know, they're gonna go something like that. All right, I've been trimming on these brackets and doing a little bit of hoopla. That's essentially at least the start of it. Now they are just loosely sitting there, and I think I got a little more trimming to do. Obviously it's only being held up by nothing right now. After I get it where I want and get it tacked and everything, then my plan is to come down here below and plate the bottom of it and then build a gusset that goes to right there where I've cleaned that paint off. I'm never gonna be able to get to this bolt because this blocks it. And actually right now, that's part of why it's sitting funny. The bolt's sitting up on the truss. I'm gonna have to cut that bolt off right after the nut, and it's damn near gonna rub this. Like I'm actually gonna do that now, cut it off, tighten it on there, grind it down to flush, and I may even have to clearance the spot where it sits. But the goal was for it to be no higher than the ram, which I've achieved. So yeah, it's really hard to film down here. I'll bring you back when I got something tacked in and ready. Yeah, I just decided to weld the nut on there. End of the bolt's been cut, thread's on fine, and then once I figure out exactly where it gets tightened down to, if anything's sticking out, I'll grind it off flush, and then hopefully this will all clear. But now that I've got that positioned, I can unbolt all this crap and get it out of my way and get some more room at least. The ram has a 0.960 width that I need to maintain.
So I went ahead and just found some spacers that equal 1 inch, and I clamped them in there so that it can't shrink anymore. I'm gonna go ahead and get a little bit more of this welded so that it's secure, and then I'll start working on some support of some sort. Not really sure how I'm gonna do it yet. It is really hard to get yourself in a spot that you can even see to weld here. And my helmet is not darkening. That is like the ugliest weld I ever laid. So, you know, I've been down there playing around with trying to make some way to gusset or brace that thing, and let's be real here, I don't have all day. I don't have time to reinvent the wheel and make it look beautiful and all this and that. I took this piece of scrap and this piece of cardboard, and I essentially made that, which is gonna brace it to the truss. So now I've transferred that onto this, and we're gonna cut it out, and we're gonna see if I can measure right, or eyeball right, I should say. It should be strong enough. In fact, it's probably strong enough how it is, but I am overkill. So you guys know pretty much everything I make is out of scrap metal or salvaged pieces of whatever. As expected, it doesn't fit great, but it fits kind of good enough for me to tack it and just fill the gaps, you know? That should brace the bottom side of it pretty good, and then I am gonna plate the top too. So fun doing this all down here. I didn't turn my gas on because I'm smart. Oh, that looks pretty bad, like the rest of this stuff. Well, it's about as ugly as you could expect. I mean, I guess I could droop the axle out, but I really want it to stay where it's at for the shock towers when they get here, which should be any freaking day now. Jesus Christ, it's the 14th of September. I ordered them in August. Well, this thing's just continuing to be a never-ending fight like usual. I've just about got it dialed, but there's a few issues. As you can see, I've turned here and I'm almost to full lock on the steering box, but I am running into the bolt head with the tie rod, which I thought might be a problem. Now I can ditch this lock washer and gain about 1/8 of an inch, so I may end up having to shave this stupid bolt head down, which is whatever, it's fine. And then I had to come in here, trim this stud down, because when you steer, it kicks the body of this over and into this U-bolt stud, so I trimmed that one off. This one is just barely clearing that one, and I do have this angled down right now, so it can ideally come up. It's just going to go where it wants when you steer, so I just have to make sure that it can't go low enough to hit that. Just a whole bunch of BS, man. I've got nowhere good to run my hoses out, so I moved them down on the below side, the ports, but I tried to sneak them through here, it pinches them. Tried to sneak it through here, it clearly pinches them. Well, apparently button head 3/4 bolts don't exist, at least at Fastenal or any store around me. But here's the new one, and I'm gonna drill it to, the first line's 6 1/4, that one's 6 3/8. I think 6 1/4 is a better fit, and I think with this flat on there, it'll clear. It's been a few days since I picked up a camera, or since I've gotten much done, but I did get a few things done, and I kind of forgot to record them. I'm going to just show you real quick. First of all, we got the other flat pitman arm in, and I just got it drilled out, and ended up drilling it to 6 and about 5/16, just a hair over 6 1/4. Had to shave this bolt down, and I haven't tested it yet, but I think it's going to clear, and I still have enough flat sides to be able to put a wrench on there, and I'll tighten it from the bottom. I've been prepping for the shock towers, which finally showed up. So I took the Jeep off of the frame jack stands, and I lowered these ones 2 clicks, so the center of the hub is about 19 or so inches off the ground, which is about what half the height of that
wheel tire is. So this is pretty much ride height. It may vary a little bit, but we're sitting lower than we were before. And you know, you're gonna end up seeing this stuff in the next video, but I had lasered some lines, and I've got like a preliminary mark for my first cut in order for the tower to slide back, because on this side it does sit there. But that's all next video stuff. To close this video out, we're gonna put this on and see if it'll clear. I tell you what, guys, it's been a freaking week. That's all I gotta say. I really hope this works, so I didn't waste 80 bucks on this thing. Oh, it's the beauty of having this on and off so many times. It just comes off nice and easy. Now, I didn't like trim off the excess on this yet, and it will stick down farther into the rocks, so I probably should. This needs to be right there. Whoops. Alright, let's see if we've won or if we've still a loser. So for this to work, I had to ditch the safety misalignment here, because this was shorter to just run these two short ones and then this big flat washer. Oh, we have clearance. We have clearance, Clarence. Ha ha! We have a 1/16 of a freaking inch, and that's all we need. Hell yeah, brother. Check her out. The washer just barely clears underneath, and that bit that I shaved down, versus if we hadn't shaved it, it would still hit. That, my friends, is a good note to finish on. That makes me happy, because one more problem off of my freaking checklist. I tried to find button head bolts in 3/4 inch. They pretty much don't exist unless you buy like a 20 pack of them for $160 online. And even those aren't long enough, because I was going to use one for the hydrosis ram and one for that pivot arm. So that's why I decided to just grind it. There's these clevis pins that just have a real low profile head, and then you put a cotter pin in this side. There's nothing that says this has to be tight. It just has to be to where it can't fall off, right? So I'm going to finish up some of this stupid little stuff, and I've already kind of started recording the next video, so I'll see you over on that one for these shock towers. Thanks for stopping in.